I'm going to tell you a little bedtime story today, all about my quilt. It's actually not my quilt, it's my husband's quilt. And we lived in a tiny little A-frame. It was 850 square feet, and an A-frame is smaller, really, than 850 square feet because they count all, it's triangle, so they count all this area and this area, even though you can't do anything with that. So it was a tiny little house. And our bedroom was up in the loft, and tucked into the corner, we had a bed, and then tucked into the corner, I had a desk where I sewed. And what I decided is I was going to make my husband for his, I don't think it was our first Christmas, maybe our second Christmas, a quilt. And I wanted it to be a secret. Well, quilts take hours and hours and hours. And so what I had to start doing is when he would leave to go grocery shopping, the good part of this is we lived 45 minutes away from anywhere. And so he would drive in and I would know, okay, he's going grocery shopping. So I have at least like an hour and a half. And so he would leave, I would pull the quilt out of my jumbled up closet, which he never went in because it was insane. I don't know where he kept his clothes, actually, thinking back on our early marriage, because I had the whole closet. Sorry about that. So anyway, I had the whole closet, and I would get out the quilt, and I would tuck into my tiny little quarter, and I would sew like a mad woman. And I wanted it to be perfect. It has lots of these tiny little 1-inch squares, and I was very particular that my points would match. It was very important. It was a sign of love to me that I was doing this quilt. And I also decided I was going to quilt the whole thing myself. It's a personal deal here, but I figure if you give somebody a gift, I wanted to do the whole thing. And so I would get the quilt out and I would quilt like a mad woman, and then when I would hear him on the gravel driveway, I would fold it up and shove it in the closet. And I did this, it took like 3 months probably. Every extra minute, we didn't have kids, and that's why I had extra minutes. So I gave it to him Christmas morning, and I was so happy because he was in fact shocked and thrilled. And he's used the quilt for the last, gosh, we've been married almost 19 years, so he's used the quilt 17 years, 18 years. And the quilt has seen better days. And I want to tell you that I think in life that we do things really well at the beginning. You know, go on Pinterest and look up weddings or look up baby showers or look up college dorm rooms, and you will see people go all out for the beginnings. But we don't do repairing very well. Lots of times when we get holes in our relationships or when we butt heads, we throw things out rather than repair them. And so I want to show you this quilt today because it's got issues. It's been repaired multiple times. It's got holes in it. It has a whole new back. I had to put a whole new back on it about a year ago. And so it has some interesting designs that weren't there at the beginning. But I have to tell you that I've learned something over the last 18, 19 years of being married, and that is that the points matching is not what matters. It's more that our hearts matching is what matters. And it's true with parenting too. Just 2 days ago, I was exhausted. I was tired. And so I decided at 8 o'clock that it was time for bed. And so I dragged the 5-year-old with me, and I told the 11-year-old, hey, I think it's time for bed, let's go. Now, I have to tell you up front in this story that I was the wrong one. It doesn't happen very often, but I was wrong in this instance. And I was annoyed that my 11-year-old didn't want to go to bed. And she asked her dad, and her dad, you know, he was very respectful about it, but he kind of sided with her, and he agreed, you know, yeah, stay up. And they took care of something on her iPad that they'd been needing to get to, and I laid in bed under this quilt, annoyed, and I was like, ugh. And then today, while I was weeding, I thought, you know what? When I was her age, I did the exact same thing, because my dad was always the one to go to if you wanted a yes, and my mom was wiser about things like bedtimes, and my dad would let us do whatever, you know. And there were a lot of times growing up where I didn't care if it annoyed my mom. If my dad was gonna say yes, I'd ask my dad. And so how dare I now, as a mom, be annoyed with my daughter or my husband for doing the exact same thing that I did? How many times in life do we do that too, right? Where we decide what I want matters and who cares about the other people, and what I have the right to be mad or annoyed. And we put little tears or fractures in our relationships, in our marriages, with our kids, in our churches. You know, I don't agree with you on this one little thing. Our points don't match, so out you go. And I just wanted to encourage you today that the quilt really is still something that I smile when I look at. It keeps my husband warm at night. It's got lots of repairs. And I don't think that that reduces its value. So, you know, when we're looking at gosh, there's a mess in our world right now. You know, we can't, it seems like if I go online and I say what I really think about politics, or I say what I really think about race relations, or I say what I really think about any manner of things, there will be people who say, Mindy, I don't agree with you, so you're out, I'm throwing you out. And there's a fracture in our relationship. And so because there's a hole in where our points match, then people don't want to have anything to do with each other. And in reality, I think we should put some time in mending. And I gotta tell you, sometimes mending is not as pretty as before the rip. It really isn't. I've got seams, and I've got messes, and I've got I still have holes, honestly, that I need to go back in and repair. But I'm grateful I didn't throw out the quilt. You know, there are deal breakers in life. There are points where you have to say, this is too large of a hole. You know, if there's abuse, or there's all kinds of things. If things fracture to the point where they are broken, you have to throw them out. You still have to do the repair work, because you still have to put back your heart, you know, and your remaining relationships and the structure in your life. There's still repair work that needs to be done. And I gotta tell you, the repair work deserves as much attention, and it deserves as much time as the original. And do I put as much time in on this particular quilt as I did at the beginning? No, the repairs were not as well planned, and they were done haphazardly in some cases. And so it makes me wonder if maybe I should go back in and do some loving repairs on this quilt, because I want it to last. And, you know, so the message today is to me too, that if you've got a marriage, if you've got kids, if you've got friendships that are fractured, if you're in a church and you're mad at the leadership, if you're angry at your brother or your neighbor or an entire type of people, then it's time to put in some repair work this week. That's all I got.